Welcome, everybody. This is going to be part one of our clustered unit of our recording tonight on the 28th of April for our Diploma of Youth Work class. So we're going to have two short recordings come out to you. This one, I'm just going to do a brief summary because this is the last of our academic learnings around this unit. And I'll lead you into the second recording, which is going to be a bit of a discussion. And then two of our learners are going to do task 3, which is the role play. And there's two parts to that, two different learners, same role play, two different perspectives. So we'll do a little bit of peer review and some self-reflection afterwards, which is what this role play requires. So the role play itself is not assessor-led, meaning you don't need to have an assessor. We will sometimes do our role plays in classes. I like to do them towards the end of a unit because you have peers and you've got someone to be a client. But you can connect with your peers in class and you can do these in your own time, work together and collaborate. I encourage you to do that. I think that would be amazing, but it's not always possible for everybody. So let me just run through what the Diploma of Youth Work, this unit that we've been doing. I know that we welcome some brand new learners tonight who started halfway through. So rather than starting at the beginning where we did 3 weeks of this, our new learners have come in and it will be covering a period of 3 weeks on CHCDEV005. But this is clustered. When you go into your learner's portal and you answer task 1 for 007, it automatically marks task 1 for 005. The same with task 2 and task 3. So the only time that changes, and there are 5 tasks, is task 4 and 5. They wait until you go into work placement. So you only do task 1, task 2, task 3, but they're big and it's complex. And the client scenario that we do, they're presenting with coexisting needs, dual diagnosis. There's physical, emotional, psychological, there's substance misuse, unstable accommodation, underemployed, health matters. There's a lot, and it's a young person of 18 years of age. So go gently while you're working with this unit. Watch and observe the recording in the second one that we send out for you, and then save this into a folder so that you can return to it when you're ready. It isn't my normal practice to say leave a role play till a bit longer, but with this one, I would encourage you to until you feel ready, really ready. So if you're new and you wanted to have a go, there is no penalty whatsoever. You can have as many attempts as you like. Each time you submit your work into your portal, you're going to get feedback from your assessor anyway. But if you wanted to wait and do this in a time where you're most comfortable, then please do that. If you want some support around that, I'm happy to do that for you as well. So usually I work, I train on Monday nights, Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. And on Wednesdays, I will either do role plays or I'll do one-on-ones with people, and the same with Friday nights. Then every second Saturday, I will book in learners where I'll do assessor-led role plays, but for the whole scope of HADA. So we have 6 qualifications and we deliver 10 classes every week. So I sit in that space alternate Saturdays if it's assessor-led, or if you say, Vicky, there's a few of us, we're really keen to jump in and do a role play, will you sit in and give us that support and assess us in real time rather than be submitting and then wait for that to come back? Happy to do that for you as well, but I need to know what unit, what task number, and that you booked that in ahead of time. So let's begin with this one. I just wanted to run through where we are and what we've been covering. Okay, so cluster units, you're enrolled in 2 units that have got 5 assessment tasks. I spoke about 1, 2, and 3 you'll do, and 4 and 5 you'll do in your work placement. 50% of your 200 hours, so 100 hours, is dedicated to this as well. So during your studies, you'll create a program from the provided list in task 2. You'll do some research. So expand upon an existing program, or alternatively, develop a new program when you go into work placement. So we just want you to pick one topic that is of interest to you from the list that we give you. So you'll learn more around implementing and monitoring programs and the communication that we do. So the program that relates to your research will be one that you've selected from the list, and it might be housing homelessness, it might be low socioeconomic, so poverty or living below the poverty line, housing insecurity, substance misuse, youth, domestic family violence. It's where we lead it over into our role play as well. So when we're delivering a program, we have to monitor it. Are we filling all of the gaps in that? How do we evaluate if what we're doing is meeting the needs, or if there's still unmet needs? We'll want to talk about that with our supervisor as well. Look, I think what could really help this client would be whatever it is, if there is something you'd like to expand upon. But when you go into work placement, you definitely will, and you'll be asking your clients. So to make sure that we implement and then monitor that what we're doing is relevant, efficient, effective use of public funds, we need to communicate with stakeholders, what's their responsibility, what's our responsibility, so we're not burning out trying to be everything to everyone. Alliance circles are very strong. What I love about them is that once we show a client how to put wraparound supports there, it isn't about us doing that, because if a client changes postcodes, we've just shown them how to get their own team of people to help them regardless of where they live. It's likely, especially the young person in task 3 for our role play assessment with this double unit, it's likely that that young person is going to need a youth support worker for many years to come. And so we're the first time that they've accessed this, and our engagement, our building trust, our unconditional positive regard with that young person will set that foundation for them to be able to trust in the process and the system of where they can go to for support, which things can they do, and which things are inside those boundaries and the guidelines that we can do. So we'll use our feedback, we'll have a look at working with other partners. So it might be I'm working with a GP, or I might be working with a residential rehab program, or I might be working with a young parents program. And for this particular scenario in the role play, so I need to make sure that when we come together and we do case conferencing, that we're using the same language, that we reach agreements together, that we all know what our role is, our strength and our core service. But when we bring that all together, they're our wraparound supports, or in our organisation and others, we refer to them as our alliance circle. And we teach our client about this as well. So let's put some people around you. Let's find out what support. So what have you got in place now so that we can work out what the gaps might be. And this is where we sit with you, but you are at the centre of everything that we do. Then we have a look at identify and address problems, addressing the needs, priority of needs. We have a look at, are there problems with our stakeholders when we're partnering with them? That can happen. They can be really short-staffed. Initially, their intention is we can do this, and that may change. So you may be adjusting what you're doing and saying, that's okay, just let us know. So the communication is two-way feedback as well. It's a very important part of keeping that connection going. We connect with our stakeholders, whether we want something from them or not. We refer to that as our emotional bank account. So we do that with our clients, but we also do it with each other, where we make a lot of deposits. We can ask for a few withdrawals. So if you've got a client and you really need to get them seen sooner, those relationships with other stakeholders and partners are the most valuable. I could never do any of the work that I do, neither could my team, if we didn't have what we refer to as an alliance circle to get those seamless referral pathways in place. So make sure that you keep good documentation around your contact with your stakeholders and your progressive file notes with your client. Like, it could be a case plan that you're working with them. So we have internal stakeholders. So I might refer internally to a different worker, program facilitator, or a specialty counsellor. For my client, depending on what we identify together the needs are or their interests lie, and external stakeholders, anyone who is impacted by the service program. So you will not be everything to everyone, and that's a really unhealthy imbalance of power, and it creates an unhealthy codependency with our clients as well. So we need to make sure that we walk beside our clients and we help them make the best decisions that they could make for themselves in this moment in time. We equip them with the resources and information in the meantime, and that's the time that they're not with us, so that they have agency over their own decision making, but they know who they can contact, whether it's us or someone that we gave them a resource for, free call numbers and that as well. So we do that in a calm and measured approach because we're working with trauma impacted clients, so our most vulnerable with complex needs. So what are some of those roles? Who's going to keep their own progressive file notes? Do we share a case notes? And it depends on the relationship. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So we make sure we're very clear on what our boundaries are, our roles, responsibilities, what we hope to achieve, our key performance indicators, and then also have a really good idea about what someone else does do. It can be quite surprising that we think we know, and it actually isn't that at all. But we will never know if we don't ask. So in task 2, you'll do research, and you'll design a program, and that will be when you go into work placement. But you will be looking at one topic and doing the research around that enough to be able to present that to another group. This is the process that you're going to need to do for when you go into work placement. So we talk about facilitating the training to support implementing your program idea. Go through all of the steps in task 2, select your topic, do your research report, because when it comes to work placement, you're going to be applying something. You might go to work placement and go, I've got some great ideas, or they're doing some great programs. I could expand on that, and maybe we could do something as a stepping off from that as well. So, it may be a simple outcome where we're just going to create a card and it's got all those emergency numbers, but it's designed in a way that's appealing to young people, small enough to be able to fit in their phone holder or in the back of their phone if they need to, or to keep in a wallet as well. I'm not a fan of everything going into a USB, because if you lose it, then a lot of that information can be lost with it. So very mindful about how we record private information as well. So always de-identify when we're talking about our clients. So I might go M17, which would be male, 17 years of age. I might go MO, which might be the mother, or I might assign a client just by their initials as well, and a code number. It just locks down that privacy and confidentiality, and I make sure I get it right. There's some very serious legal ramifications of sharing somebody's information without their consent. And there's the only time we will do that if there is a risk of harm to self or others, if that person's being harmed, then we would definitely need to report that. And initially we would do that with our line manager, which of course we do have that in part 3. We're just going to run it past them, but overall you make your decisions about what you will do in that role play and what your next step might be based on the story and how the client presents themselves in your role play. So we need to, before we set out and do any program whatsoever, is to have a goal that's got a plan and we take action. And when all of those things come together, we'll reach our outcome that we're aiming for. There's a couple of videos that I want you to watch. Wanted to just skip through some of these as well. Just sharing that, but I wanted to just jump up here, see how that looks our end, hoping that you can see that. Oops. So I know this is in our previous recording, and I'll make sure that you've got all of those. But I just want to skim through some of these. You'll get these slides. These are coming out with our recording. There's a great video there, Your Voice, We Hear You. So that's working with young people and getting their feedback. So it's not only about worker to worker, it's client to worker, and taking that feedback on board, checking that you've been understood and you understand them. And that's acknowledging that you are listening, actively listening and applying those communication skills. So here we have how we gather feedback, and then acknowledge the program that you've done. There's example here of a youth program as well, which I want you to be able to watch. And and our service delivery, and who are all the players in that. We'll have meetings, we'll run interviews, we'll do feedback forms, and we'll get some polls. Who thinks that they know a little bit more now than what they did when they first started? I like to do that at the end of each unit that we do as well. Even to the point where we might check in with someone, how they start at the beginning of the class and how they are at the end of the class. So it's progressive. And we also want that feedback, I definitely do, on best ways to support you. So we come together in class as a group. However, you do have that support outside of class one-on-one, or you can email me as well. So you want to get feedback from your clients, were they happy with it, or neither here nor there, or it might be, no, I'm not particularly happy about that. But you want to welcome and encourage any feedback, because there's always merit. We all love to get the positive, but if there's something that's coming back to us that's corrective or a way that we could improve, embrace that as well. Help me understand what that's like. If you ask a client, have I got it right with something, and they just say, absolutely not, you're all the same, nobody listens, and that you've got to welcome that when it happens. There's a lot of trust in someone pushing back. Most times people will just agree with you, say what they think you want them to say, or what you want to hear. They speed up that process. Everything looks like they're very compliant, and out they go and they won't come back. Or if they're coming back, you're not really engaging with them, and it could take you a lot longer. So if you start out with how you intend to finish here and apply, I like Stephen Covey, highly successful 7 habits. There's one in youth, and I'm a facilitator for that. Habit number 4 is think win-win. So you still have rights and responsibilities in this space, but you want to think that there is a win in there for your client, that they did make the right decision walking in through the door today, and you are the right worker. But if you weren't, and you checked in and you said something like, I'm just wondering how we went today. Do you feel comfortable working with me again? I'd be happy to make us another time if that's the way that it goes. If there's anything you could change about this and the support, what might that be? And they could straight come out and say to me, I want to work with the male. And I'd go, absolutely, let me do a referral internally. We've got a couple of great male workers. So that's a professional referral, but we've handed that over to our client. When we do our case conferencing and we talk to our line manager, sometimes you might feel that you've worked with the client for ages and you've hit that plateau. They're a little bored with you, you're a little stuck with them. So it might be where you say an offer to the client, we've got a couple of programs, there's more than one worker, I'm going to be away. I'm just wondering how you would feel about working with a different worker just the week that I'm away, and give me your feedback on that. If they go, oh, no, I'd rather wait till you got back. Okay, so you're getting feedback. And if they go, yeah, I'll give that a go, that might be good. And then you get their feedback afterwards. And this is how we share our caseload internally around that as well. And just a different worker with a different lens might be able to get them to a different place. So there's room for everybody in this space, for sure, whether you are an experienced sector worker or you're brand new, whether you're almost at the end of your studies with your diploma or you're just starting out. Everybody comes in with insight, something that we might miss, a different way to look at something, that's encouraged and welcome. So case conferencing at work is part of our continuous improvement as well. It's always good to share your thoughts around somebody else. So there's a couple of videos that I'd like you to watch. Things like the capacity of programs to meet the KPIs, like, set realistic goals for what you want to achieve. Small things make a big difference. Doesn't have to be where we create this amazing dynamic thing. If you have got an amazing dynamic idea in your program that you're going to roll out when you're in work placement, then phase it over 5 years and go, stage 1 will achieve this, stage 2 will achieve that. Write that down, document that, get that plan in place for yourself. So, but punching above your weight, a lot of organizations do that all the time. They're usually understaffed because they're underfunded. When an organization gets funded, that's when they employ staff. And that's how we get ourselves into the sector. Where is the highest demand? You'll know that. You just need to go on to Seek and put in youth support worker or youth worker, and it'll tell you who's hiring and what they're looking for, what knowledge, experience, and skills. We will support you get into work placement and give you access to that. Or you might have somewhere in your local area that you're really interested in, and you could send through 3 ideas. You know your local area well, and then we'll make contact for you. We'll do that under host employer. Hader outsource, and we have an organisation work for us called Skill Track, and they will set up the appointments. And because we are a national RTO and we have some learners who are living and studying overseas as well, then we need to have that. We've got a community of 2,500 learners. But your support is there for you while you are on work placement. There are assessments to do in work placement. So there are 21 assessments that you do academically, and then you may have another 7 assessments at diploma level. One of those is your logbook and your hours, and you don't start work placement until the agreement is in place. There's nothing to stop you from wanting to do volunteer work, if that's what you would like, to bring a little bit of that experience into your study space if you're keen and ready to go. So we'll work with you progressively around that as well. So when we talk about setting goals, we set SMART goals. So it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, which means, if we don't write it down and set it as a goal, it's a wish or a dream. The moment we document it, we are holding ourselves accountable. I think that's really important as well. So just some reflection time as well, which we do in classes, and you will see that in our recording if you're just joining us this week. Seek and get feedback. We did a bit of that peer review tonight as well. So it can be criticism or corrective. Praise, it could be formal feedback, or it could be informal, just verbally said to you, or constructive as well. It could be quantitative, that means the quality, or it could be qualitative as well. So the quantity, I do that often in a report. I saw 5 clients today, and I have got 5 clients every day this week. And I'm seeing my clients every 2 to 4 weeks. Depending on the program that you're in and what you're employed to do, it depends on the size of the caseload that you're working with. If you're in a residential house, you might have 2 or 3 young people there. If you're working in job agencies where you're working with young people specifically, and there's some job agencies that are funded just for young people, you could have a caseload of 300 plus be running a program with those young people to keep them engaged, because sitting in a room studying all day is usually not their thing, because they've often fallen through the cracks of mainstream studying. So we have to move things around and pitch to whatever will suit that young person where they have an interest in it as well. So that's our brief summary. Of sending out the slides for you again. But the summary sits around how we engage our clients, how we develop programs, how we monitor what we're doing if they're working, how we evaluate and get our clients to give us some feedback or identify some gaps where we could improve. We'll keep developing a program if it's meeting the need, and how do we keep it going sustainable as well, and then implement and monitor more programs and evaluate those programs. So you will be doing a lot more of that in your work placement. For this one though, task one being the quiz, task 2, your research project, that's where you're going to be learning about a particular topic that you hold interest in. But if there's more than one topic and you're heading into work placement after a period of time, then you know now how to do that research. And it doesn't matter what the topic is, it's the framework where how can I get that information? What's the social impact, the political impact as well, the environmental impact, and the economic impact. So once you've done that for one, you'll be able to duplicate that for any topic that you hold interest in. And also with your role plays, the story changes, but how we assess you remains the same. It's always going to be your underpinning knowledge. Did you prepare and plan? And your micro skills. Can you apply that knowledge in a simulated setting, ready to be able to work with the client? So a big unit, because not just of 2 units together, they actually complement each other beautifully, but it's the duration of time has been put in there. We've had a few public holidays being a Monday class. But it's the depth that we need to go, because if a client presents with more than one need, we have to have some idea about what is that like for our client, what local services are around, how are we going to walk beside our client to feel confident to attempt to accept support and to enter into different programs, whether it's AOD or a housing homelessness one, or counselling for PTSD, or going into a program for domestic family violence, or accessing greater supports with employment or further education. So that's these 2 units in a nutshell. We'll have no live class next week, but continue to study and work on task 1 and task 2 if you're up to that. And then in the following week, we will be doing some role plays in real time for people. And if you've already done your role play, I'm going to ask you to take on the role of peer review for the learners that are doing their role play and break that down. Strength-based, I'll give you a document, and I want you to be able to do that as a feedback form as well. So thanks, everybody. That's the end of our recordings until we are actually doing a recording for role plays. So this is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.